Sematary 2 is the 1992 horror sequel to Pet Sematary, again directed by Mary Lambert, and it stars Clancy Brown, Anthony Edwards and Edward Furlong. Last week I reviewed the original Pet Sematary from 1989 in preparation for the remake slash readaptation of Pet Sematary that's coming out in April, and I had a lot of requests for me to just review Pet Sematary 2. I wasn't going to do it because I didn't love the movie the first time I seen it, but I decided, you know what, we've got a couple of weeks to go, I might as well review part 2. The story is very similar to the original, and this one's about a young teenager who lost his mother, and he finds out that the Pet Sematary has powers to bring people back from the dead, so he sets out to do just that. Now, although they brought back the same director, Mary Lambert, for part 2, they didn't have Stephen King writing this one, and you can tell because the characters in this film weren't as in-depth as the characters in the original Pet Sematary. So I think that was a bit of a letdown for me, because you can tell the difference between good writing and bad writing. With the major success of Terminator 2, obtaining Edward Furlong for this sequel seemed like a genius idea at the time, but it just didn't turn out that way. Being a massive cheesy horror movie fan, I didn't mind the dialogue between some of the cast members. It was very, very cheesy at times. But I think if you're watching this movie and you're not really used to that kind of dialogue, I can see why it would put you off. But for me, it didn't bother me at all. The script at times did sound like it was written by a teenager. As for the acting, if you put a piece of paper down to me and said, this movie stars Clancy Brown, Anthony Edwards and Edward Furlong, you would expect a really decent movie, or expect a movie with decent acting in it. But we didn't get that. I think that Anthony Edwards and Edward Furlong were pretty wooden in this film. That might not be their fault, it could be again a writing issue, but Anthony Edwards just felt so stale in this movie, even worse than Dale Midkiff from Pet Sematary. Wasn't a bad actor in the film, but it was just very, very dry and wooden. Edward Furlong was a bit similar. There was sometimes you wanted to enjoy his character, but you also wanted to punch him right in the face. Clancy Brown stole the show for me. As a human in the film, he was very scary and you wouldn't want to mess with him. But then when he turned into the undead Gus, he also felt very scary, but he was very, very funny as well. And again, every scene he was in after he turned undead, after he came back, I think that it was a joy to watch. You always wanted to see him on screen. And speaking of that part when he was brought back from the dead, I think that the story took a different turn, a turn for the better for me. I think the movie felt different, and it felt like it was going in a different direction when they brought Gus back. I enjoyed myself a lot more. I'm sure back in 1992 the music that they used in this film was relevant and everybody loved the music. But watching this movie today, the music was rubbish. I didn't like any of the songs in it. I didn't know most of the songs either, which is quite rare. But anytime they used a song in this film, it just felt out of place and just wrong. There's scenes where like animals were dying or random things were happening, and then they just brought in this kind of rock music to the scene, and it just disrupted the scene. Whether the scene was good or bad, it just totally disrupted it in a bad way. So I think that the choice of music and the timing of the music in this film was really bad. I'll be honest, I really enjoyed Pet Sematary 2. I think with the goofy antics of Clancy Brown in the second half of the movie, mixed in with the early 90s cheesy horror theme, I couldn't help but really like this film. Obviously it's nowhere near as good as the original 1989 Pet Sematary, but this movie is nowhere near as bad as a lot of people say. It definitely doesn't deserve the hate that it gets, so I highly recommend this film. So that's my review of Pet Sematary 2, guys. If you've seen this movie, as always, leave your comments down below, let me know what you thought of it. There is only 2 Pet Sematary movies in the Pet Sematary franchise, so next up will be the readaptation slash remake. So I'll get that review out in a few weeks when the movie comes out in the cinema. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.